Hey guys, it is Tell with Oshawa Bushcraft. So as I'm sure you can tell from the title of the video you clicked on, we're out here today to talk about compasses. Now I'm going to take a quick minute right now and preface this by explaining where I'm coming from here and why I would shoot a video on this topic. If you're already a subscriber to the channel, I'm sure you know that in my youth I served in the Canadian Armed Forces. And I served during a time that GPS technology was not particularly good. And the GPS unit that we were issued at then didn't really work. So at that time, map and compass skills were still really important, especially in my trade. At that point in my life, I was already a pretty strong outdoorsman, certainly more so than the average recruit. And so skill sets like navigation and orienteering I took to very easily. And I was probably a lot stronger in them most. And even to this day, those are skill sets that are still near and dear to my heart. So in recent years, I have taught this topic to outdoorsmen and other bushcrafters in classes and workshops and even just in around camp. Most recently, I did a very large workshop actually at this very property at the Oshawa Bushcraft Primitive Skills Gathering about 6 weeks ago. I was relying on our members bringing their own compass with them, and to teach this class properly the way I was taught, you really need a proper sighting or a ranger style compass, and they can be a little bit expensive. So while we did have a few of them in the class, some were in degrees, some of them were in mils, we also had people bring just a regular base plate compass, and some people had engineer's compasses, and some people just had like little button and keychain compasses that were junk. So after the gathering, I started looking into investing in a matching set of compasses specifically for teaching. And when you look around real quick, you realize that sighting or ranger style compasses can be very expensive, and buying 10 of them is 10 times as expensive. So this is the situation I found myself in that got me searching for budget sighting compasses. Something just good enough to teach with. It doesn't have to be super durable, it doesn't have to last forever, but I need to buy a bunch of them. And as long as it pointed north, it had adjustable declination, it was reasonably durable, that would be good enough for me. So I took to the kind of sources you look for, shop for things from overseas like Amazon and Aliexpress and Wish, and started looking at different models and reading reviews. And many of the reviews I found were very poor. Like not poor reviews, but they were written poorly. All you get is like half a sentence written by Borat. So I finally settled on a model that looked like it checked all the boxes I need, and I went and pulled the trigger, and I went ahead and ordered 10 of them. And with the combined shipping, they cost me $80 to have all 10 of them shipped to my door. So I was in for $8 per compass. What I received has impressed me so much that I want to share it with you guys today. So I'm going to set this camera up, we're going to get these compasses out, we're going to have a real good look at them. So this is what I received in my package. This came in a generic white unmarked bulk packaging box. Sorry I didn't keep the packaging to show it to you guys. I threw it all away. You get a compass, you get a respectable lanyard, you get the little screwdriver for adjusting the compass, and there was a little LED keychain light on here that was totally junk. I honestly just threw them all away. So right out of the box here, I see nothing about this compass that would lead me to believe that it was some kind of a cheap knockoff. It looks exactly like a Sunto or a Silva or a Brunton. The lid on here has a very firm latch that is stoutly built. I know on some of the early Silvas, the little latch mechanism on here was an easy thing to break. Looks like they've avoided that. Underneath here, this looks exactly like my Silva. We have a nice thick base plate. I don't know if this is acrylic or polycarbonate, but it's the same thickness as my Silva. All the markings on here look like a standard sighting compass. We have inches along one side. We have millimeters and centimeters marked along the other. We have two scales, one for 50,000 and one for 24,000. I thought that was a little odd. I would have preferred a 25,000 scale, but this is actually in 1 in 24,000. The dial moves freely and smoothly. It has just enough resistance to stay where you leave it. It doesn't move around at all on you. As I said, this is an adjustable compass with adjustable declination. It has a screw here on the front where you can change your magnetic declination for your region, which was important for teaching and doing proper nav, a feature that's missing on a lot of cheaper compasses. This is liquid filled, and this needle does move perfectly freely. And something else that's cool, I hope you guys can see this. See the second little needle down in here? That is an inclimator. It's used for measuring angles. That is not something I needed for teaching my class, but that is an advanced feature I would not expect to see on a compass like this. The mirror, I believe I don't think it's glass, it's a resin or a metal mirror, but it's large. It does seem to be mounted in there very firmly. I don't think it's going to pop out. If we have a good look at the hinge here for the lid, this can be a failure point on cheaper compasses. There's a fair bit of material in this hinge. It's almost the full width of the compass, and the hinge pin in there is metal. I don't see that being a weak point at all or a failure point. I have shifted the camera around a little bit, guys, because I want to give you guys a side-by-side comparison with some other compasses here. So this is my Silva Ranger. It's a vintage model. And dimensionally, these are nearly identical. The base plates are the exact same thickness. This Ranger has this very weak little latch design. I see a lot of these that are broken. But other than that, this is a very old compass, and it has served me well for a long time. I also have my Sunto, I think it's an MC2, I bought when I was in the Army. So I bought this myself. I didn't steal it. It is also an almost identical model. This one's in mils. So one of the things I was worried about when I was shopping for a budget compass is how's that needle going to perform? Is it going to shoot the same true north as a higher end compass? Or is it going to be deflected by magnetic fields and metal objects worse than a high-end compass would? So we're going to do that test right now. I have a big old magnet with me. We're going to move it around these compasses and see if my cheap compass reacts differently than my good ones. So for our first test, I'm going to bring this magnet in and set it up here in the 12 o'clock position. So from here, they're all still shooting the exact same bearing. It hasn't had any effect. Let's move it a little closer. Would you look at that? The Sunto and the Silva have both moved considerably, but the cheap compass has not. I might wonder if that's just position. Let's try it over here. That's weird. The Silva's moving a lot. The Sunto's moved a little. The cheap compass hasn't budged. Let's try it over here. Same thing. Sunto's moving a lot. The other two unaffected. Okay, I do get it to move. It's not stuck. Okay, they're all definitely following it now. Okay, let's pull it away and see if they all go back to north. They all did. Let's try that again. Follow me. There you have it. I don't know, guys. Do you see any difference in performance between the three of them there? They look pretty similar to me. Another demonstration I want to do for you guys is that all three of these compasses are supposed to be glow in the dark. Not that they're going to glow all night for you to do night nav, but you can take your flashlight out and just shine it on them to charge them up, and it'll give you 5 or 10 minutes to nav with, so you can have some of your night vision. Now, I want to do this demo in a dark room, but I think we're going to be dark enough here. To be fair, this Ranger compass is probably from the 90s, and my Sunto, although I bought it 20 years ago, I had it replaced under warranty about 10 years ago, so this is about a 10-year-old compass, whereas the knockoff is brand new. So I'm going to hit these with my tactical flashlight, and we'll see which one's glowing afterwards. I don't know if you guys can see that, but that's pretty decisive. The glow in the dark effect on this one is vastly superior to the other two. To be fair though, it's brand new. These are old. Another observation I'd like to make for you guys is that you could see the markings on the base plate on my Sunto are almost completely gone. Now, obviously the ones on the knockoff are good because it's brand new. And my Silva markings are all still in good shape, even though this compass is very old. And the reason is when Silva marks the back of this, they, I don't know, print in or burn in those markings. I want you to listen to this as I run my thumbnail down it. Those markings are actually melted into the plastic a little bit, so they won't easily wear off. Whereas on the Sunto, they're not. They're just, it's smooth on the back. They're just printed on and they rub off quite easily. The knockoff is also smooth on the back. They're just printed. So I'm willing to bet these markings are going to wear off. But that's just kind of the mark of the beast. Even the new Silvas are just printed on the back. They're not melted in anymore either. So that is kind of a negative for this compass, but that's also a negative for like all base plate compasses. You find in old ones, the markings are usually gone. To be fair, the scales printed on the base plate of the compass are convenient to have, but they're not necessary to the function of the compass. They will still work on for years without those markings on there. One last test I want to do for you guys that I kind of can't is cold weather performance. So I already mentioned that these are a liquid-filled compass, as most good compasses are. So that means that the little bezel with the needle in it is filled with an alcohol or an oil that stabilizes the needle. That bezel is a very common failure point on even high-end compasses today. It is normal for a compass to develop a small air bubble inside. This is by design, and as temperature or pressures change, the fluid on the inside expands or contracts and eventually draws in a little bit of air. While a small air bubble is fine, the compass continues to work. If it becomes a large air bubble, your compass doesn't work anymore. So here in Canada specifically, one of the common causes of a compass to fail is cold weather. Obviously, it's summer right now, so I can't really test them in winter conditions. The closest I could come to doing it was taking one of those compasses and putting it in my freezer overnight. The next day when I retrieved that compass, sure enough, it had developed a large air bubble, and I could clearly see where there was a small vent hole in the side of the bezel, letting in air bubbles. At the time, I thought that compass had failed and that this was going to be a real short video. But I left it out in my house at room temperature for 24 hours, and when I came back to it the next day, the bubble was gone. So for what I can see, these compasses have a teeny little valve down at the south position inside the liquid-filled bezel that's able to let a little bit of air in and let it back out when it needs to. How exactly does that valve let air in and out without letting the liquid escape? I believe uses some type of magic. So I don't think that valve is proprietary technology to this company. I think most high-end compasses have something like that in place. The real question is, how long is that valve going to continue to function and do its job? We're getting to the point now, guys, where I got to wrap this up and give you guys some kind of conclusion. Now, I don't want to be that guy who gives someone the advice that they should trust their life to a compass that's made of plastic and not field repairable in any way, and is got a complex mechanism that if it fails, you will never be able to fix it in the field. But that's true for all sighting compasses. If that thing ever breaks, you're never going to be able to fix it. That being said, can I recommend a $10 one? Honestly, I can find nothing wrong with it. There's nothing about the build of this or its design that makes me think that it's going to be any less reliable than a Sunto or a Silva. I suppose the real test now is just beginning. So I have 10 of these compasses for teaching. Now, I've been EDCing one just for the sake of trying to put some wear and tear on it. I've been carrying one in the field. I'm going to keep tabs on them over the next year or two, and if I get any failures, I'm going to let you guys know. There'll be a follow-up to this. So if you want to see that follow-up, make sure to subscribe. If you're watching this video a year or two in the future and you don't see the follow-up yet, make sure to get in the comments section. You can ask me how they're holding up. I'll let you know. So you can find these on Aliexpress for around $10 if you can wait for the shipping from China. Or you can go on Amazon and you can find them under the Nature Hike brand and have them primed to your house the next day. I'll give you guys some links to help you find them. I hope this helps somebody out. I want to thank you guys for watching, and I promise you I will do a follow-up to this and let you know how they're holding up. Till next time, go outside. YouTube will still be here when you get back.